So how about we bring in one of the really good right now? And that would be, of course, my longtime colleague and Sal Paolantonio, the host of the NFL Matchup Show, and, of course, the author of How Football Explains America. And tonight, you are looking live at the Union League, where Sal is the MC of the kickoff gala for the 250th birthday of the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Marine Corps. Sal, how are you tonight?
Pat, it's quite an honor to be selected to be the MC for this event. It's a year-long celebration of the birthplace of the Navy and the Marine Corps here in Philadelphia. It's a big, big operation set up by the city, by the Navy, by the Marine Corps. And tonight, we've got Navy and Marine Corps dignitaries coming into Philadelphia from all over the country to kick this off. And to be selected as the MC is pretty cool.
Well, as an old gunnery officer in the Navy, I guess you've earned it. And so congratulations to you. And I'm sure you'll do your usual excellent job as far as being an MC. And thanks for taking the time, though, to join us. And your priorities absolutely in order here. This week, pro football comes first. So thank you very much for doing that. All right, Sal, let me get started here with you. I am saying that this is a classic get-well game for the Eagles, who are sitting at 2-2, and a lot of concerns about them right now. In come the Cleveland Browns, who make the Eagles look like a well-oiled machine. Is this a get-well game for Philadelphia?
It certainly is. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Lane Johnson were full participants in practice for 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, and I anticipate that there'll be a full go for Sunday. And if you remember when I was on with you last week, I said, if those three guys are back on the field and functioning, this offense will go back to functioning like it can. I covered the Browns at the Commanders last week because Jaden Daniels has finally gotten onto the national map. And the Browns are just dysfunctional. Routinely, Deshaun Watson is just inaccurate with the football. And I thought going into that game, given that Washington is very limited on defense and their secondary is not that good, they came into that game last week giving up 26 points a game, which was 27th in the NFL, that the Browns could do some things, that Deshaun Watson, if he showed anything remotely like what he once was, he could score some points. First quarter, first throw down the field, Amari Cooper is screaming, ready to hit his head on the goalpost. Deshaun Watson overthrows him by 10 yards.
Right.
Amari Cooper was beyond the secondary by 7 to 8 yards, and Deshaun Watson just missed him. So he did that all game. He did that to David Njoku. He did that to Jerry Jeudy. He was just flat inaccurate, like he wasn't paying attention to what was going on the field. So for sure, this is not a team that's going to challenge the Eagles, where the Eagles have been soft. And I anticipate the Eagles to be better offensively and defensively. It looks like Cooper DeJean is going to be inserted into the starting lineup, and hopefully that will add a little bit of energy, or at least into the starting defense. But yeah, get well game for sure. These next 4 games, they got to go 3-1, Pat. They got to go 3-1, I think, at the very least.
I don't want to waste a lot of your time on the Cleveland Browns, but it's an interesting story, Sal. And I just want to ask you one more question about it. Is obviously the Browns must have a ton of buyer's remorse about what they did, the trade they made with the Texans, what they gave up, and what they acquired. Just give me your take as a guy who has watched 1,000 quarterbacks come and go in this league. This guy, Deshaun Watson, was a bona fide star in Houston. I mean, he was, in many ways, Sal, he was the progenitor of a lot of Jaden Daniels and a lot of these guys, right? And now he's seemingly terrible. Just give me your thoughts on what has happened to Deshaun Watson.
It is unusual to fall that far. But Carson Wentz did. But Carson Wentz was injured, knee injury, concussions, and things went off the rails after the 2017 Super Bowl season. So it is unusual. You don't see it that often. I don't know what the explanation is beyond maybe some of the off-the-field issues really sort of poisoned his ability to prepare himself for these games. But
Yeah.
the Browns are one of the bottom 5 teams in the league, Pat. They just are. And the Eagles should boat race them on Sunday. And if they don't, then we know we have real problems.
That's correct, Sal. I mean, that's it. And I've always said this. I know you have too. This is the exact type of game where if at the end of the first quarter it's 7-7, all bets are off. Now you've got a moribund team that knows they're inferior, but now
if they score 7 points in the first quarter, it'll be a revelation.
Yeah, I know. But the point being, the Eagles got to put this team down, and they got to put them down.
Let's see them score 7 points in the first quarter. They haven't done that in forever.
But Sal's referring to is that so far this season, the Eagles do not have an offensive point in the first quarter. Let's circle to that now, Sal. That the Eagles offensively now, how is Lane Johnson, Sal, that critical? Seemingly in terms of record with and without him, the answer would be yes. But is he that critical to stabilizing the Eagles offense?
Listen, Pat, when you don't score in the first 16 scripted plays, you don't score in the first quarter of a game, and you do it routinely where you don't score. That's on the offensive coaching staff and the quarterback.
All right.
That's on Sirianni and Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts and Doug Nussmeier, the quarterback's coach. You have to be able to game plan when you have that level of talent. When you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and, by the way, Saquon Barkley.
Right.
When you have that level of talent, you should be able to put the ball in the end zone. That's the job of the quarterback. Put the ball in the end zone. And to do it in the first quarter, if you can't do it in the first quarter, it means that your preparation during the week was just not good enough. It's just not good enough. It's an indictment, really, of that coaching staff.
All right. Well, let me get to one of those things, but it's really on both sides of the ball, but it applies to the offense too. At the press conference, you were kind enough to send me the transcript. Elliott Shore-Parks asked Nick Sirianni if there were any common threads to the fact that offensively the Eagles have turned the ball over 8 times, and any common threads to the fact that defense has only forced 2. The Eagles at -6 are I think it's 30th or 29th in the league in net turnover margin. So if I ask you, Nick gave a usual Andy Reid type answer, but I'm asking you do you see any common threads? In other words, it's not just a one-off thing. Is there something systemic the Eagles are doing wrong on both sides of the ball?
Well, there's one category on defense that matters a lot, and they actually put it in to the game book at the end of the game. It's a stat that is kept. It's called forced fumbles.
Okay.
So let's talk the defense first. Forced fumbles is a stat that they keep on defensive players all across the board. And the way you force fumbles is by tackling like Brian Dawkins.
Right.
Ferociously. The object of the game on defense is to violently take the ball away from the offense.
Right.
So if you're not tackling well, you're not going to force a lot of fumbles. So that's an easy answer on defense. Easy.
Right.
On offense, the ball is being held too long by the quarterback. He's getting strip sacked. He's throwing interceptions.
Right.
We have well documented on your show, and I have talked about this on SportsCenter ad nauseum. Jalen Hurts holds on to the football longer than any other player in the National Football League, any other quarterback. And the longest of his tenure as a quarterback in the NFL, 3.2 seconds.
Right. That's
slowest in the NFL, slowest in his career. That's why he's turning the ball over.
Yep. Yeah. All right. And we'll see if tomorrow, did
I give you good answers, Pat? I thought those were good answers.
I like them a lot more than the ones Nick Sirianni gave, Sal. So good for you. How you guys sit at those press conferences and don't want to just stand up at some point and say, all right, that's enough. This conference is over. But I mean, I don't know how you do it, but I guess
call a timeout, Pat. You got to call a timeout.
Okay. Listen, defensively, I mentioned how takeaways are 28th in the league. And by the way, to buttress the point you just made, the 2 takeaways the Eagles have are interceptions. They have not forced and recovered one fumble in the first month of the season. So you're right. That hitting is noticeably absent from what's going on with them.
The object of the game on defense is to violently take the football away. That's it. Yeah. That's job 1.
But here's job 2. The opponent yards per play the Eagles are 30th, meaning that, and that's a damning stat, Sal, right? I mean, the opponent yards per play, the Eagles are 30th out of 32 teams. That means the other
And we
teams.
could go through the geometrics of this thing all night long, Pat. But if you're -6 in the turnover margin, Pat, you're not going anywhere. You're just not.
Ah, that's an old Dick Vermeil one. I know that.
You're
Uh,
just not.
yep, yep. So okay, just a word then from you. Speaking a one-off. Devin White is released. He didn't play a down for the Eagles. Just give me your thoughts on that. Was it just a total mismatch of player and organization, or did White outperformed by other members of that Eagle linebacking corps?
I am going to wait until Bob Woodward writes a book about it because I don't have any idea what happened. I really don't, Pat.
Yeah,
I'm going to wait. Tim Weiner, the great Tim Weiner, who was, in my view, one of the great investigative reporters of all time for the Philadelphia Inquirer. Make him come back. Find out, because I'd really like to know what happened with Devin White.
All right.
I don't know. I just don't know. I don't think anybody knows.
Yeah, it just seems very strange, Sal.
It's like, why was Malcolm Butler kept out of the Super Bowl? We still don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, it's fair too. Yeah, it is that type of mystery. So we'll see. At some point, I mean, White.
Not for nothing, but if I was hiring Bill Belichick to be on my network, the first thing I would say is, you have to tell us why Malcolm Butler was held out of the Super Bowl. You don't tell us that, we're not giving you a paycheck.
We're not hiring you. Fair enough. All right, Sal, let's look around the league here. Talking with the great Sal Paolantonio from ESPN, the host of the NFL Matchup Show, who is hosting tonight kickoff dinner for the 250th birthday of the U.S. Navy and the Marine Corps. All right. Sal, I want you to play doctor here for just
too much pressure on me, Pat. There's like 300 people waiting for me in the next room.
Just say to yourself, what would Pat do? That's all. Just keep doing that. You'll be fine. All right, Sal, Dr. Sal, here we go. I want you to tell me whether these teams, these are contending teams that have gotten off on the wrong foot. I want you to tell me if it's temporary, meaning they're going to turn it around, or is it, in fact, or is it terminal? How about those 2-3 New York Jets? High expectations for the Jets. They have stumbled badly. 2-3, bad loss in London. Salah fired. Give me your thoughts on the Jets.
Since I'm at the Navy Gala, I'm going to use a Navy term. It's DIW, dead in the water.
Okay. All right.
They have run aground and they are DIW.
Right. You think Rodgers is not the Rodgers that he used to be?
Well, Pat, I mean, if you're going to play that kind of offense, and the new offensive coordinator that they just brought, elevated and to call the plays, he wants to play a lot of 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers on the field at all times. So it dovetails with what Rodgers wants to do. He runs a very vanilla offense. Rodgers doesn't like a lot of motion, and so his presentation to the defense is static. When your presentation to the defense is static and your offensive set is spread out, guess what happens?
Yeah.
The defensive ends just fire off the ball.
Right.
And they go right at a quarterback who is barely mobile.
Right. Fair enough. I've heard that about the Jets. You're right. Jets run almost no motion. You're right.
No motion. Yeah. This new offensive coordinator wants to spread it out.
Yeah.
If I see that if I'm a defensive coordinator, like this week, Sean McDermott, who learned from Jim Johnson here in Philadelphia, boom, coming after Rodgers from the get-go.
All right. The San Francisco 49ers, Sal, losing 3 of 4, blow after 30 straight times winning games. When they've led after the third quarter, they lose to Arizona. Hardly a powerhouse last week. Give me your thoughts on the 2-3 Niners. Are they DIW or are they going to get
Yes, they are DIW until Christian McCaffrey comes back.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah. But and no one knows when that's going to be. That's another big secret, along with Bill Belichick. That's another one that apparently nobody could figure out. But there's something wrong with him. But okay, the Niners, good enough. How about my beloved 1-4 Los Angeles Rams? They were racked by injuries, off to a terrible start, coming off another game. They're always in every game, Sal, but they just can't win them. Give me your thoughts on the Rams.
Well, they need to get their act together pretty quickly.
Yeah.
For sure. The NFC West is eminently winnable, for sure. They still have a healthy quarterback and a coach who knows what they're doing. So they need to get healthy.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to decide on the Rams. I think
All right.
it's up in the air.
All right, but they're a team under, you're right, enormous pressure. The Rams have
The
a
whole
fight.
NFC is wide open, Pat. Do the Minnesota Vikings scare you, really, honestly? Do they?
No, Sal, they don't. I mean, I don't tell me Sam Darnold overnight became Sammy Ball. I mean, so I just don't see it. But right now, they're
that's why what the Eagles do in these next 4 games is so important.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, and then they have to go. If they could go 4-0 in these next 4 games, Pat, they put themselves right back in the conversation for the NFC Championship game being played in Philadelphia, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let me take you then, Sal. Let's segue to 2 Week 6 games. I wanted to get your opinion on because they tangentially do affect the Eagles. The first is 4-1 Washington goes to Baltimore to play the Ravens. The Ravens have won 3 in a row. Washington, though, very impressive 4-1, but who they beat in those 4 games is not exactly a murderer's row. Just give me your thoughts on this game.
This is what Bill Parcells used to call a weight class game. And the Commanders are going up in weight class. Their 4 wins are against teams with a combined record of 6-14.
Right.
And now they're playing a Ravens team that is finally getting their act together offensively. And what the Ravens do well, the Commanders don't do well.
Right.
So I think the spread is almost 7 points. I think it's 6.5 for a reason.
Yeah.
Baltimore always has teams that come in, whether it's Chargers or the Dolphins that have done well. And then they play at M&T Bank Stadium. And they have to face Lamar and Derrick Henry, who, by the way, I think is the number 1 player in the conversation for MVP, number 22. So that's a pretty formidable offense.
That's right. And as I've talked to you before, there's nothing like October Lamar, Sal. October and November Lamar, unbeatable. January Lamar is not quite the same.
I will be at M&T Bank Stadium covering that game. I will be in the ESPN radio broadcast booth. Steve Levy does the play-by-play. I will be doing the color analyst for that job. So I'm really looking forward to it. I was very impressed with Jaden Daniels, but that was the Browns at home. This is the Ravens in Baltimore.
All right, Sal, last one. The 3-1 Detroit Lions coming off a bye, travel to Dallas. Cowboys barely escaped a win over, I think, one of the worst offensive teams in the league, that being the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not sold on Dallas. Give me your thoughts on this game, the Lions traveling to Jerry World to play the Cowboys.
Well, no Micah Parsons. That's a big problem for Dallas. Micah Parsons is the tone setter on defense. He's the guy that gets after the quarterback. Jared Goff was near perfect or has been near perfect recently.
Yeah, perfect the last game.
Yep. Yeah. So when he is under center in play action this year, he's only missed 3 passes.
Oh, man.
3.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's part of our NFL matchup show this week.
Right.
It kicks off our show.
All right.
Is Jared Goff under center play action first down. He's almost unbeatable.
Boy,
so he's a very accurate passer. He's a very, I think if Dan Campbell doesn't make those errors that he did in San Francisco in that SC Championship game, the Lions would have been in the Super Bowl.
You got it right, Sal. I mean, you're right. God forbid, kick a damn field goal Dan every now and then. But it's funny. You mentioned the name Carson Wentz at the start of the show. Look at the difference those 2 career tracks took, and it took Jared Goff at his worst moment. He's traded from sunny Southern Cal to Detroit, and now look where his career ended up and where Carson Wentz has ended up, back up in Kansas City.
I like Jared Goff. I've always liked Jared Goff. Absolutely. Yeah. He's a very coachable player.
Yeah.
He's a good teammate.
Yeah.
He's tough.
Yeah.
His ball is very accurate.
Yeah.
He's got good arm strength.
Yeah.
And they have put players around him, wide receivers, running backs, one of the best offensive lines, if not the best.
Yeah.
Of course, as Ron Jaworski told me very early on when I started hosting the matchup show, the quarterback position is the most dependent position in all of sports. And Goff has got a great supporting cast.
Sure does.
And that's evident week in and week out.
He sure does.
All right, Pat, I can hear the Navy fight song next door. I got
anchors away, Sal. Thank you very much for taking the time. Good luck with that dinner tonight, and we'll talk to you next week. All right. Sal Paolantonio joining me there. All right, let's take a break, Xander. When we get back, I want to take a quick review of the Week 5 standing, Week 6 schedule. We'll do that next on This Week in Pro Football, presented by Park Bank.